have some interesting ideas to them, so we'll play through them. Sounds like the speakers are actually working this time. If you guys want to stop and talk about something, let's do that rather than have 5 different little conversations going on in 5 different areas. We definitely want to get on the same page, so if you have something you want to express or you see something else, let's talk about it as a group, okay?
This video covers personal fouls.
Thank you.
Personal foul number 1 is a face mask. Our first look is from the perspective of the line judge, and you can see from this angle it's very difficult to see whether the mask was grabbed or not. In this case, the mask was grabbed, but the line judge did a great job here of not throwing the flag because he couldn't see the physical grasping of the mask. So in order to pick up this foul, we're going to need some help, and that help in this case is provided by the back judge. This was a good call and pickup by the crew. Personal foul number 2 is another easy face mask. This one's picked up by the line judge. Personal foul number 3 is again another easy face mask foul. This one was picked up on the field and it's pretty obvious. The umpire does a nice job spinning on this play in order to help out and pick up this foul.
And a left-handed throw.
Personal foul number 4 is a face mask that removes the helmet. In this case, it was picked up by the umpire. And based on the new rule, because it was picked up, that player does not have to sit out for a down.
Ouch.
Pause, please. Right there.
Officials threw their flag up in the air rather than at the spot.
Okay.
In this case, you want to throw it at the spot even though you have a player, so you have to have a spot rather than
His question is, where do you throw the flag? Down at the foot at the spot or at the in the air? In the case of the earlier one where it was the run right towards the line judge, he's standing on the spot, so he had the spot all the way, and so throwing it in the air is okay. For the play where it was the pass and the umpire turns, you need to throw it to the spot as best you can, because you may not have somebody right on the spot. In this case, you want to throw the flag to the spot. If you have some other way to determine the spot, I'm standing on it, it's a run right at my feet kind of thing, and the runner's tackled here, the play's over, then you can throw it in the air. Okay.
One more thing to think about, guys. If this was the runner and he escaped out of here, but the helmet comes off, shut it down, okay?
If the runner's helmet comes off, the play is dead. If any other player comes off, it is not dead. Game point? Going, hey, what about that? Come on!
Personal foul number 5 is another face mask, and it's the last of our easy face mask fouls. And in this play, the head linesman does a nice job of picking this up.
I call that easy. Oh, wait a minute, stop that and back it up just a second. Yeah, we got an illegal shift here. Check it out.
Oh yeah, this is going to be fun.
Oh, never mind, don't do it.
No, it's okay. I just have to.
I
need to do what you did.
Yeah, watch the pad. Okay? Watch. Okay, watch. 18's in motion. Look at the quarterback's hands. Shift. 2 guys moving. See that? Got to get that.
Personal foul number 6 is another face mask foul. This one is a lot more difficult to see. And from this first angle, it sure looks like a face mask, but let's take a look when we get to the end zone view. And from this angle, it looks like it might be a grab of the shoulder pad, but as you can see, the head linesman gets a perfect angle at this point and makes the call, so we'll go with the call on the field. Another thing I wanted to point out in this play is the covered up end here who loses his helmet during the play. Now from this angle, it looks possible that this helmet was knocked off due to a hands to the face, but because there is no foul called, this player will be forced to sit out the next down, and unlike our experimental rule from last year, he cannot be brought back in with a timeout. Personal foul number 7 is an excellent face mask pickup, and this foul is called against a defensive player who commits the foul on a blocker. So we'll highlight the player here, and you can see why this was a great pickup by the umpire, and it was a great job of staying focused and picking up something that you don't see every day. The referee could have also assisted on this call as the action is slightly off ball in his keyed area. Personal foul number 8 was correctly called a face mask on the field, and you can see the defender get a good grasp on the face mask and pull the runner down by it right in front of the head linesman. It was a good call. Now it's also important to point out that mechanically, as wing officials, we want to retreat into the offensive backfield on sweep plays like this in order to get far enough back to allow the play to pass us. In this case, the official doesn't retreat far enough and puts himself in a possibly dangerous situation. Also, we do not want to throw flags at players. We either want to go up with them or put them on a yard line. Personal foul number 9 is a face mask that was correctly passed on the field. And this is one of those plays that illustrates why it's so important to see the physical grabbing of the mask. Because as you can see in this replay, just because the head turns doesn't mean a face mask occurred. Personal foul number 10 is our first of 4 horse collar plays. And this first one's the easiest of the bunch. We have a fake on the try and the passer clearly gets pulled down by the collar. This was a good pickup on the field, half the distance from the previous spot. Replay the try. Another thing that I wanted to point out in this play is the position of the umpire. In this case, the umpire starts well outside of the hash marks. Based on our mechanics, he should be positioned to the inside so that he can watch his primary keys, which in this case...
He's way out here.
For you umpires, look where the pass is going.
Or the snapper in the inside blocks. Personal foul number 11
might think about buying a ticket.
is another horse collar tackle that was called on the field. And this is a little different than the classic horse collar because in this case we have one hand inside the collar and another hand on the shoulder, and both hands are used to make the tackle. So based on the rule and our philosophy, if any of the hands get inside that collar and that hand is used to subsequently pull that runner to the ground, we would have a horse collar. Personal foul number 12. In this play we're going to look at a possible horse collar and also the mechanics by the line judge. Let's start with the horse collar. And from this angle it's a little difficult to see, but you'll get a better shot here from the end zone view. And from this angle we can clearly see that it was not a horse collar, and instead the player was pulled down by the front area of the collar. And for a horse collar foul to occur, it must be from the side or back of the collar or shoulder pads. Another thing that we want to point out in this play are the mechanics. As you can see, we're snapping from the 10-yard line, which means goal line mechanics. So in this case, the wing official should stay slightly ahead of the ball and beat the play to the goal line. And in this case, the wing official does not and almost gets caught up in the play. So this is why it's important to get to the goal line and work back if necessary, and not put yourself in a dangerous situation. Personal foul number 13 is easily the most difficult play on the entire tape. It was called a horse collar on the field, and you'll see once we get to the end zone angle here in a second that it was very, very difficult to see. And you'll be able to see with the white jersey against the white glove, it is extremely tough to see whether a finger got inside the collar or not. But in this case, I think it's important to remember that the horse collar foul is a safety-related foul. So in a play this close, we should err on the side of safety and make this call. Personal foul number 14 starts our late hit plays. And I did go a little crazy here. There's a good amount of them, but they're all good plays to learn something from. So let's start here with a clear late hit. And this player, honestly, on this play is lucky that he wasn't ejected. It was called on the field, and it was an easy pickup. And this player had no business making this contact, and if you wanted to go with an ejection here, you would most likely be supported. Personal foul number 15 is a huge late hit around the pile, but this is one of those ones that is
54.
easy to miss if you're not focusing.
Okay, we talked about the guy coming at the pile late. See him moving, he becomes your suspect.
10 come in from the right of your screen and pick an offensive player off of the pile.
The pile's already happening. When this guy runs in late, somebody over here's got to be seeing that. Okay? Back judge maybe can even see that. But when you got a guy running in late to the pile, suspect.
This was picked up on the field and it was a good call. The only other thing to say about this play are the flag mechanics. Remember, we never want to throw flags at players, and in this case it's a dead ball foul, so we want to go up with the flag. Personal foul number 16 is another late hit, where a player is picked off after it is clear that the play is over. And as you can see, this is a defensive player who sees that the ball is dead and decides to take a shot against the receiver that he's covering. This needs to be picked up on the field, and it was not here. And this is why it's especially important that if the ball is not our primary responsibility, that we open up our vision and help out in order to pick up these fouls. And in this case, based on the action, the back judge is the most likely one to help out here. Personal foul number 17 is another late hit around the pile by a defender. And this was not called on the field, but it's really important that we pick this up. And in this case, the umpire or the back judge would be in the best position to pick this up.
You know, notice this right here.
We're going to highlight number 74 here in red.
63 to 0, this stuff happens.
He's the player that is going to get hit late. And this is one of those fouls that we really need to pick up, especially in a blowout such as this. Personal foul number 18 is a play that shows the difference between a live ball and a dead ball personal foul. And this was picked up on the field and it was a good call. So you're going to see that we have a long touchdown pass, but we have some action that occurs back at the line. And you can see number 69 on the offense decides to take one more shot after everyone has stopped blocking. So the question now becomes, is it a live ball foul or a dead ball foul? Philosophy-wise, had the receiver been near the goal line about to score when this block occurred, we would want to make that a dead ball foul if possible. But here the ball is caught at the 25-yard line, and that's when the block occurs. So we're going to go live ball foul here and bring the play back.
Can you stop right there?
Yeah.
How is the information, what he just said about the ball being closer to the goal line?
Okay.
How's that communication going to happen when the back judge is, 15, 30 yards away?
Actually, it's going to be the person that, hopefully I'm talking loud enough, it's going to be the person that's throwing the flag. What we used to talk about was, you see the foul, okay? I've got my foul right here. Look up as you're starting to reach for your flag, find out where that ball is. If he's inside the 5, we're probably going to make that a foul after the score. If he's inside the 5. If he's outside the 5, it's going to be a live ball foul, so obviously we're going back to the previous spot.
Some of it is just feel on timing.
Correct.
It happened early, right after the ball was thrown, and then, he ran in after that. And you can tell by the crowd noise and other kinds of things. So, yes, you can look, but sometimes it's, that the ball was just released. In
Right.
this place, they show the guy's getting shoved as the guy's receiving the pass, not well after he started running.
Does that help?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I think a lot of people get okay, there's the action. Okay, yeah, let me get my flag. You know, hey,
Well, I'm
okay,
just
where's
thinking
this?
from a mechanic standpoint, that's most likely going to be the umpire's call. And he's
On
already
this
got
one.
a situation where a foul's occurred, it could escalate. And now we're saying spin around and see where the ball is. It just doesn't feel right.
And so that's, I don't know.
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that you can pick up on.
Yeah, okay.
I really do. Like Bob said, listen to the crowd. You're going to have a good idea of the timing of the thing. If you're inside the 20, you're probably going to have a good idea that might have taken place real close to the goal line. If you're on the 40 going out,
Now, if you don't know,
live
you
ball,
don't know, then it's a dead ball foul.
dead ball. Okay.
Yeah, if you don't know and you're saying, well, it happened sometime and I'm not sure, if you're not sure, then make it a dead ball foul.
And it only takes that split second just to go, okay, yeah, okay.
Personal foul number 19 is a shoving match after a play, and this can normally be a talking to unless there's been some action between these players previously in the game. But in this case, one of the players goes high to the head, and that is a problem. And this was a great job by the line judge of staying focused on the action away from the ball in order to pick this up. And personally, I do not think we DQ here, because this is more of a shove that went high as opposed to a swing or a punch. But it definitely deserves a flag, and the crew did a good job of picking it up here.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
I know he's talking about open hand and to the face, but man, this is a big, strong guy. You know,
Okay, I think Bob just described it earlier. Is this part of a normal football action?
I think he went straight under his mat.
I understand. I understand. But just a point of reference, is this a normal football action?
And again,
Hey, like, you can go either way here. And that's the point. But if this is part of a normal reaction, okay, this is a normal football play.
well, but
This,
there was nothing about that was football play. These two guys decided to have a little bullfight. You know, that he wasn't still blocking. I get that action in the action of blocking, but in the action of anger, that looks like a punch to me.
Matt, there's a lot
do
more.
you have
The
something?
answer is, in your opinion and in your judgment, that's an ejection.
Right.
In the judgment of the official in that game, he thought it was a late block. Okay? And I understand that on that kind of a play, that you could read it either way.
Right.
Tyler is saying, in his opinion, it looked like a late block and not worthy of an ejection. But I understand what you're saying. And if, in your opinion, as the covering official, you felt it was worthy of an ejection, then that's your call.
And you still got the
I
thing
think
of,
that is a borderline one myself. Me watching it, I'm personally thinking that it's looking like a block, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and call it a block 15, not ejection. But I understand that you could see it differently.
Well, because of all the action that happened before that happened, you know, that they weren't playing football anymore. So that's kind of the conclusion I came to.
well, and it's going to depend on what all you see. If you were able to watch that, you know, now we are here, we're focused on the entire action, whereas you had an umpire looking one way, referee looking another, a wingman coming in. This may be the final thing that you see. Now, is that a late block, not seeing all the rest of the stuff?
Well, and you have to see the rest of it. You have to see everything that happened.
Correct.
Until then to make your call that I'm talking about.
Correct.
But I thought they stopped playing football.
Yep. Okay.
Personal foul number 20 is a late hit that was called on the field by the back judge, but I don't believe we have enough here for a foul. And it's important to remember that the receiver has to survive the ground. In this case, the contact's made right when he's coming to the ground. I think we pass on this. And this is just too close to call on a player who's running full speed and times the contact pretty well. Personal foul number 21 is a late hit along the sideline. And this was called a late hit, and I believe based on our philosophy it was a correct call. And you're going to see once we get to the end zone view that the defender makes this hit slightly after the runner's foot comes down out of bounds. And in this case, it's important to remember that it's always the responsibility of the defender to know where the runner is in relation to the sideline. And based on our philosophy, if the runner angles out of bounds and the hit comes after he stepped out, we're going to err on the side of safety and make this call. And that's exactly what the crew did here. Personal foul number 22 is another late hit along the sideline. And this one was not called on the field. And you're going to see why here in a second. And you can see that the action by the second defender here is clearly a late hit. And the reason it was missed is because we had a holding call prior to the late hit. And this play really illustrates why it's important to continue officiating even when you have a foul, so that you can pick up plays like this.
He gave up. Right? If you got a flag, throw your flag and continue to officiate.
Okay.
Personal foul number 23 is another late hit along the sideline, and this one was called on the field. And again, remember, it's the responsibility of the defender to know where the runner is in relation to the sideline. And in this case, the runner gets 2 steps out of bounds before the second defender comes in and delivers the late hit. Now, philosophy-wise, had this runner stepped out of bounds with the first foot and then tiptoed down the sidelines in bounds and continued his run, we would have likely passed on this hit. Personal foul number 24 is a clear late hit that was called along the sideline. But the main thing we want to focus on here are mechanics. And you can see that this wing official does a nice job of pivoting with the play in order to watch the action out of bounds. And the back judge also does a fine job of coming in and helping with this sideline action. And in this case of a large group of players in the opponent's bench, it's also okay for the head linesman to drop a beanbag here and head into the bench area in order to help. Now, one note about the late hit, the contact does originate in bounds, but the player is driven well out of bounds and then slammed down onto the track. This was a great call on the field. Personal foul number 25 is another late hit along the sideline. This one is not called on the field, and it really needs to be. It's a clear late hit out of bounds with the player being slammed down to the ground. And this is the type of hit that we can pick up if we use proper mechanics and pivot with the play out of bounds as a wing official. And it's very important to remember that the spot isn't as important as safety. So we don't need to be looking down watching the spot, we need to be focusing on the players whenever we can. In this case, if we pivot with the play, we'll be able to see this late hit and pick it up.
He's looking inbounds. He's not looking down here where the action is. You have primary responsibility to stay on that guy right here. Your eyes should be here. Let people coming behind you, let your crew take care of this.
Personal foul number 26 is a roughing the passer that was picked up on the field. And once we get to our second angle, you'll be able to see the defender takes multiple steps after it's clear the ball is gone and delivers a hit on the passer. And also, because this is a foul on the defense on a scoring play, the offense will have the option of taking half the distance on the try or 15 on the seceding kickoff.
Could they made it a little difficult on you?
27 is a roughing the passer that was called on the field. This one is very close, but it does look like the defender had enough time to adjust his angle in order to avoid this contact.
Bernie.
And just like in many other cases, it's always the responsibility of the defender to avoid this contact whenever possible. Personal foul number 28 is a roughing the passer that was called on the field. And you'll see in a second, once we get to the second angle, that it was a solid call by the referee. Personal foul number 29 is another roughing the passer that was called on the field. And in this play, the referee does a nice job of flowing out with the quarterback in order to get the angle to make this call. And you'll be able to see once we get to the end zone view that this roughing the passer was not called because the hit was necessarily late, but because the defender led with his helmet into the helmet of the passer. And in a case like this, where you can go with either illegal helmet contact or roughing the passer, we're going to always want to choose the foul that's more penalizing to the defense. And in this case, it was roughing the passer. Good job by the referee.
Sucking up to his uncle.
Personal foul number 30 is a roughing the passer. This was called on the field, but I believe this should be a talking to. And you can see the defender does come in and make a small amount of contact, but he's also able to hold up enough to keep him and the passer both on their feet. This is one you want to pass on and talk to the player. Personal foul number 30 is the first of 2 helmet contact.
Did you have anything to say, Steve? Oh, okay.
Players?
It's always easier on video.
And these are the fouls that we all as officials need to start getting. And in this case, probably the only person that can pick it up is the back judge. And we're going to highlight number 8 here in a second. He's the player that's going to deliver this block. And he's going to lower the crown of his helmet directly into the chin and face mask of the defender. Oh, yeah. And we need to start calling this every time we see it. Another thing that I wanted to point out here is what the player who is on the receiving end of the blow does after he's hit. And here you'll notice that he removes his helmet while the ball is still live. Now if we don't get this helmet contact foul, based on the new rule, he must now sit out for a down. Personal foul number 32 is another illegal helmet contact. And in this case, the umpire and the head linesman do a great job of picking it up. You're going to see the defender come in here and lower the crown of his helmet in order to make the tackle. And this is a big safety issue, and it was called here. It was a great job by the crew.
Yeah.
And that's the end of our